Hello and welcome to the ORCA pod, the Apex Predators of Australian Survivor LRG podcasting. We are back covering the penultimate and the penultimate episodes of Canberra Survivor, Canberra versus the world. I thought we would only be able to get through an episode with only one guest after we've had a cavalcade of guests throughout the last couple of episodes. But no, for some reason, they dropped 2 episodes in 4 days and we have to interview 2 people. But they are fantastic people to interview. We'll have them on later. 2 of the most exciting, dominant women on the season. And of course, not just women, just dominant players in the season. They just happen to be women. And equally, some of the more dominant, I think, women we see play across a lot of these LRGs. Really excited to talk to Loz and Sab during the show. But of course, before that, we'll need to get into chatting about everything that happened in these 2 episodes. Joining me, as always, she hasn't flaked at all the whole season. She's always been here, and we very much appreciate that. Welcome, Dani. Welcome.
It's nice to see me, isn't it?
Yes, you're always here. We can always have faith you'll arrive. And, of course, welcoming back to the program for the end is our other illustrious co-host. She watched it while she was in America. She got jealous of the way Annabelle looked and decided she needed to bring some of that Annabelle energy. So she's gone. So here she is now, the blonde bombshell, Jules.
Okay, the shade of me missing episodes. But yeah, look, Annabelle was an okay fill-in, I guess. But, you know, it's glad to have me back.
I'm glad to have you back. Liking the look as well. And your penance was missing the Harry Potter episode. You have a Harry Potter tattoo, so I'm sure that was devastating.
Harry Potter tattoo, Harry Potter fur baby names. Like, Sab, you couldn't have waited 1 week for that. But hey, I'm my winner pick. She might be gone now, but at least it was my winner pick making those comparisons, so that made me happy.
Yeah, the personal connection there. Well, look, we've got 2 episodes to cover. The way we've been doing it recently is have an interview at the end and the interview at the start. But that's because our interview was like from episodes before. So I think today we're going to do episode 9, and then we'll get Loz in, and then we'll do episode 10, and then we'll get Sab in. Now that will require a little bit more structure than we're used to.
I was about to say, we're going in structure today. Oh my goodness.
Let's just try and turn our minds like watch episode 10. Let's just talk about episode 9 and what was happening. What do we think about the decision to vote out Loz in this episode?
I mean, she was the biggest threat. It made absolute sense.
No, I agree. I hated it because I fucking love her and she's always one of mine. But I didn't see any other option for them here.
Plus, as a viewer, what a boring fucking episode. Like, you knew it was coming.
Like, she was dominating strategically, but she was also winning challenges. So you can't just let her get any further because she could go on a run.
Well, I mean, we talk about, like, you know, we get into what we jump around, but when they were doing the quiz and touchy subjects, until they got to like the Australian Survivor portion of
Sam, we should have waited for you to come back. Yes, you should have.
we can rant all things Harry Potter when you come on in a bit, Sam. She was like leading, like she was killing the geography portion of it, like she was slaying in the quiz. And then
although for a super fan, she got a lot of the Survivor questions wrong.
Australian Survivor, so I think she's a US Survivor super fan. I don't know if she's an Australian.
You're not a super fan unless you're watching South Africa and that shitty season they made in the UK. That is a super fan. You can't dog out on the Australian and still call yourself a super fan, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I agree with you, but based off the old school Survivor shirt, I think she's a US Survivor fan because she fell apart on the Australian Survivor question.
Still didn't know how many seasons they filmed in Nicaragua. Like, you got to know there's even numbers with the old school seasons. They would film 2 seasons back to back, so it's either going to be 2 or 4.
I actually got that question wrong.
I got every question right.
Including the geography?
I haven't even got my geography in my notes because that's boring. I don't care.
I got every geography question correct.
I probably got them wrong. I wasn't paying attention, I'll be honest.
What are you, Dani?
I'm not a geography person. I tuned out. I wrote the first question down, and then I was like, I can't. This is boring. I can't.
A geography snooze, Survivor. I have every question written.
What do we think?
I wrote all the questions for touchy subjects, so we've covered our bases.
You didn't have the geography? It was good stuff. What do you think of the hybrid quiz here instead of just doing touchy subjects? A lot of LRGs do like the Survivor quiz. We've seen that before. We've seen touchy subjects before. We've never seen a random category of academia before.
It kind of seemed nonsensical. Like I was like,
Yeah,
what? I think they do geography. I mean, I know it's Survivor versus the world, but like do Canberra geography. Shouldn't
there have been Canberra and the world geography?
Yeah. I think the only reason that I can think you might do it is because touchy subjects, there is a bit of an advantage if you are in the majority. Because obviously the majority is going to be talking about who do we think is the biggest threat? Who do we think is a GOAT? And so you're likely to understand a bit more about what other people are thinking. That's the only thing I can think of why you would put them together.
And I think touchy subjects at final 6, I feel like you should have more people.
7, they did it.
7.
Yeah, I think at 8 or 9 is probably, but it also you want it at an odd number because it encourages people to make moves.
Yes,
I do feel that if you have a greater pool of numbers for touchy subjects, it's easy to pile on with the negative answers onto the obvious person, and then you don't actually create any potential weird dynamics. Like if John had been there, they'd all just talk shit about John with every negative answer, right? Like. You can get a bit more of a reaction out of people. And I do think it played in. So, look, I don't mind the geography, but I think it's a bit harsh to, like, whether people aren't to know that they're supposed to know this stuff. So there was just an advantage.
I would be like, what the fuck?
I do actually think, from memory, Loz was doing very well at the geography.
Loz smashed the geography portion of this. She was leading the way and then fell apart.
Andrew would have smashed it, I can tell you that. And we know he smashed the Survivor trivia. He won a Survivor trivia challenge on Backyard Exile against Zach, who you also know was a massive Survivor super nerd. Like, they could have gone on for hours. So Andrew would have been sitting pretty with this one subject, of course, the touchy subject. So with that in mind, I actually didn't hate the combo of the 3. I think it's unusual. I don't know if I'd say do it again. But I think it did provide more of an interesting dynamic for the leaderboard and how the challenge played out.
Sure.
And I do like when touchy subject is a quiz rather than the chop. The chop, provides some drama and all that, but it means that the person on the bottom is not winning immunity because they're all going to gang up.
I don't think LRG has ever done it as the chop.
Yeah, Backyard did it. Backyard 1 definitely did. They had balloons that were popping.
Oh, you're right. Was that touchy?
That was for touchy subjects, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, all right. You might be right. That might be the only one.
Ed's performance was relatable for some of us.
I think Squin's saying she equally would have struggled with the Survivor stuff. And Aston, yes, he's also referenced Backyard 1. You're right, Jules. You've got Aston backing you up in the chat. Well, why don't we talk about the touchy subject answers? Some were unsurprising.
Do we want to go back to the start, or are we going all over the place? Can we? I thought we were going to do some structure.
Yeah,
we're all over this episode. That's how we do it. But we're not going to talk about episode 10.
Okay.
That's what the structure I want.
Okay, because Jules has thoughts about the start of the episode. I know this already.
Yes, Dani is aware. I have some very intense thoughts.
Sure, but we're going to go with the flow. All
right.
That's how we work. That's how program works. We're just not going to talk about episode 10. Let's talk about the touchy subject answers while we're here.
All right. So I've got geography snooze, and then I've got all the Survivor questions. But if we go into touchy subjects, so as touchy subjects began, Sab and Eden already were on 7 points, Pauline on 6, Bethany, Loz, and Oscar on 5, and Ed was on 1 point.
Also, I loved the updates, like with their numbers beside them when I planned out at trial. I thought that was so effective. I screenshot it. I thought I was top tier. Well done to production there.
We don't need updates every question.
No, just the pop up.
Every section. I liked that.
Loved it. I thought that was a fantastic way of keeping us up to date. Really well done.
Yeah. So who deserves to be sole survivor? Loz, no surprises there.
Easy
who
answer.
Least deserves to be sole survivor? Eden, I was surprised with that one.
I was surprised by that. How has Eden got away with being perceived as such an undeserving player? As we've been
the perception is that Loz has led him and Bethany, has sort of protected them, kept them safe, and it's because of her that they are still there.
I don't feel like that's part of their narrative and that is part of their success, but I don't, and that may be the perception, but I don't think we've seen all the information, so I don't think we view it that way, but I understand why perhaps also no one that's left other than Loz and Ed, I suppose, But someone's got to remember the fact that, and Bethany, Eden has played two advantages, one effectively, one not effectively, only because he just didn't exactly know how that idol worked. How are people not looking back at that stuff as someone who's perhaps more deserving than, you know, the GOAT crew that everyone's calling of Pauline and Oscar and Sab? Like, you know, Sab's not a GOAT, but she's leading the GOAT crew somehow. Why are they not getting? They
Ashton has brought up a really good point. He said, "I wonder if Eden voted for himself and could see Ed voting that way as well." I think you and I discussed this on one of our many other podcasts about, you know, when you answer the touchy subject questions in private, sometimes people don't always answer them honestly. They might answer it a bit differently to try and sway the result, because if you're trying to throw someone under the bus, maybe you'll pump them up a bit more. If, you know, and for someone like Eden, who might see himself as a big threat, might want to downplay that. I think, Pauline said they weren't allowed to vote for themselves. I like that. There
just seemed to be in this episode 9, and there has been for a while, this underlying current that Eden is not a threat, and I just think that that's completely incorrect. And
is that him being young?
I think that's what I said. But Loz was saying that. Loz has been saying this for episodes when people were targeting Ed, and she was like, "No, he's not a target. No, he's not a threat. No, he's not this." And she bullied them all into thinking that he's not this threat, and he absolutely is.
Loz just said that because she was his number, and she didn't want to be targeted.
I completely agree with you, but she's been so dominant in saying that they're all gone, "Okay, yes, Loz."
Except that, and I don't want to talk about episode 10, but in episode 10, as soon as Loz is gone, suddenly people start clocking that maybe Eden is a threat. So we see how far he gets after this point, but he absolutely does not deserve that vote. Something's very strange going there. He's been a very active player with a lot of strategy. He's got moves to his name.
And he was a target so early on as well. Like he was like fresh at the top of people's lists, like for most of the pre-merge. And then
the merge vote. Like, he's always probably going to be Aiden.
Yeah, that's exactly.
But he was still one of the names floating around.
It's crazy that people think he's not deserving.
But I think we see him and Oscar make the alliance as the young people. Is it a bit of that he is just, I don't know how old he is, but it seems that he's significantly younger than the rest of them. And are they just discounting him because of that?
I personally, look, maybe Dani can speak to this as well. But, you know, she played with people that were young. I don't really understand the young person prejudice, particularly if they're impressive. I voted for Chloe at the end because she was actually like way more impressive than I expected her to be. Like, she really surprised me with the game she played, and her Final Trouble Council was really good. And I thought, man, for like a 21-year-old, you're pretty, like, this is pretty impressive. Like, whereas if she'd been 33, I might not have been as impressed with the game.
Yeah, look, I don't think I was necessarily young person bias when I played Sydney. Just the young people weren't like.
What did you think about Ethan from the jury?
I didn't know how old Ethan was because I didn't play with Ethan ever, so I never knew that he was like a shit ton younger than me. Like, I knew Leah was, but I didn't think it was an age thing. She just talked too much. But now I think she's a super impressive human. But yeah, I didn't know how old Ethan was, so it didn't affect me at all.
You know, I personally don't believe in this age.
No,
I don't either.
That's my perspective. Other people may have different perspectives.
I think it was just such a varied age group of this cast. So like when you look at like John versus Oscar Eden, like that's a big. So it can make them seem like this is older people and these are really young people compared to like a kind of smorgasbord of 20s to 40s.
But, you know, you can't, like, everyone's crapping on Oscar for being young and exuberant and, you know, wanting to make big moves and being super obvious and everything. And yeah, like, he sort of is that. But Eden is a much more subtle and capable player. Like, they're just different people and it's got nothing to do with their age.
No, agreed.
Anyway, the next one, who is being dragged to the end? Pauline. I don't know if I agree with that, but I can see why their perception is that. I think if they're seeing that her, Sab, and Oscar are the tight three, Sab's seen as the top of that, and Pauline's just along for the ride. But I think, not to jump ahead, next week is the last time she can play her idol. I feel like if she can do something good with that, I think she probably is potentially a winner. So that's, you know.
I didn't mean you had to be that light, not talking about episode 10.
I'm just saying, like. Well, Pauline's the only one left on my team. I'm going to root for it.
The thing about Pauline, can I say, Pauline has been telling everyone who will listen, including the audience, how much of a goat she is.
Don't do that. Don't tell people.
I think that's where that's come from. She's been telling people, I feel like a goat. I feel like I haven't been doing anything. She's told us as the audience that, and I feel that's therefore why she got that answer, because that's the one everyone, whether they think it or not, that's the one you think people are most likely to say.
Yeah.
Great.
Who mistakenly thinks they're in control? Sab. I think at this point, she is not mistaken. At this moment in the game, she probably is in control. Doesn't last that long, but at that moment, I think, she was probably running the game.
Mm-hmm.
No? Yes, no?
But it's right, but she was mistaken because she wasn't. So it's exactly
in that moment, she probably wasn't. Anyway, most trustworthy was Ed and Pauline. Yeah,
I would have written Ed down a million times.
100%, I would have Ed all over the place.
The guy's just spewing everything he thinks at everyone.
Yeah, every orifice. Yeah, absolutely.
And he called himself a dog. We've called him, he's like a Labrador. You trust your dog. Who is most likely to stab you in the back? This is a three-way tie between Sab, Eden, and Oscar.
I would have picked Eden here.
A three-way tie when there's 7 people left means it was 2, 2, 2, and a 1. Basically, that basically is just not a consensus vote.
I think Oscar's more likely to stab you in the front when he trips over a log. Sorry, Oscar.
But
he's not stabbing you in the back, though. I'll tell you that much.
Sab getting that, of all people, because what has Sab done to be untrustworthy or more likely to stab you in the back? I think this is something that was touched on at the end of the episode about how much harder it is to be a woman.
I don't really think Sab has done anything to deserve these.
He hasn't done anything to deserve that. Yeah. And yet she's got those votes. And I think if she was a man playing that same game, her name wouldn't have come up.
Equally,
we will get to that. And I have a lot to say about that as well. I have a lot to say about the start and the end of this episode.
Yeah. Next.
Who was the most annoying? Ed and Pauline. Ed got the most annoying, but also the most likable. He's annoying, but you like him.
Didn't Ed also vote for himself that he was annoying?
He thought other people said himself.
Yeah, he was talking about some story he was telling or something that, really, we didn't see it in the edit, that there was some particular conversation he had that it was obviously annoy everyone. So, perhaps
maybe he's a lot. So, 2 full days of that, I might be like, shh.
Yeah.
But anyway, who is the smartest? Sab. I'm surprised Loz wasn't the answer there. I think because a lot of people seeing her as quite strategic, but I've sort of put strategic and smart in the same one, but I think Sab's also a very, very valid answer. Most likely to be a bitter juror, Loz and Sab. Loz, I think we definitely saw that at the beginning of this episode before she's even voted out, and then when she gets voted out. I think this is 100% accurate.
Yeah, I was like, Loz all day.
Yeah. Hey, we love a bitter juror. Nothing wrong with that. And that's the last question.
You'd be happy that you're on the jury. You'd be bitter and pissed off at these people.
You gotta make them earn your vote.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, even if my number one ally is sitting at the end and I'm on the jury, I'm gonna make them work for my vote, because if they have to work for mine, then maybe they'll earn a couple other people's votes, Mm-hmm. You're gonna see them fight. But yes, those were all the touchy subjects answers.
Good questions, good answers. Painted a really interesting picture.
Sometimes these go on a bit long. Sometimes you get a lot of questions that are kind of the same and someone's just going to get dumped on. I think
the quizzes are very useful. You guys may have found the geography boring, but I like geography. I think that every time they've done the Survivor quizzes and these things, it's always good, because I think the people who watch at home like to play along at home. They like to go, how would I do?
I like to play along. Like I said, I got everyone right. One, I did have to guess, but I did get it right. I wasn't sure what state Lee Castledine played for.
Yeah, it's definitely Queensland.
Yeah, definitely.
He's definitely a Queenslander. He just exudes Queensland.
Just because he's from Queensland doesn't mean he played for Queensland.
Most people don't play. I think in the Sheffield Shield you have to play for your state.
Look, I am a cricket fan, but I don't follow state level.
No one follows Sheffield Shield.
Nobody
follows Sheffield Shield.
Thank you, Swin.
Nobody follows it. It's a dead sport. Anyway.
Anyway, can we go back to the beginning?
Yeah, back to the beginning. You have some strong thoughts.
Lauren.
So we start on Loz being very upset about Todd's vote. She has called everyone out. She's basically calling out Sab, Pauline, and Oscar, that trio, as lazy and weak players because they've been coasting through. I'm sorry. Laws, I adore you, but Sam, don't put us all in that category. All right, whatever.
Queenslanders.
Oh, okay, fair. Yeah, look, Laws, I adore you, but I'm hoping this has come from you being upset and bitter. Survivor is a game. It's probably one of the things that's most unique about it than any other game, sport, competition. The best player usually doesn't win. Loz is absolutely the best player of this season, but of course that means they're going to come for her. Calling the other people lazy and weak, they are not. They are just biding their time to make a move at the right time for them. They had no need to be making these big moves. Yes, they got on the right side of the swap, but that's just how it works. Luck comes into it. So to call them lazy and weak, I really just, that made my blood boil.
I disagree with your assessment. She doesn't give two shits about Todd. She was planning on voting him out anyway. She's annoyed that it's not gone her way, and she now needs to reset position because she's a very good player and knows she's in incredible danger. I have done exactly what she's done in orgs before. When I lose my numbers and I'm a big player, my whole goal then is to gather up the other big players, whether they are with me or not, and say, okay, we are the big players. We cannot let the goats get to the end. They'll just take us all out. And you have to really push hard about what sort of goats they are and really separate. We're the big people. It's me, it's Ed. Like, because Ed's social and popular and good at challenges.
Yeah, she needed to be picking up Sab.
It's Bethany, and she needed to pick up Sab, as you say, to make that work. But I don't think she felt that. Well, I'm not in the harsh way she was doing it, but it's the right strategy for her because otherwise she is just toast. She needs to make a power alliance of threats, a sort of a shield wall of alliance.
No, I agree with you. I was upset at her referring to the other people as lazy and weak because I think that is just not the correct assessment.
You're being hard. Of course, it's not true, but like
she's saying it in confessional. That's her genuine opinion. She's not calling them lazy and weak to their face. She's telling us.
I will come between the both of you here. And from her perspective,
Sam's excited.
From her perspective, it was things that she were harsh, and I get that in the heat of the game you can say and all the things that come out of your mouth. But she has worked harder. She has run her webs harder, and she's being fucked at this point in time. And she's like, these motherfuckers are coming for me, and I'm so much better than them, and I'm fucking annoyed about it. So, yes, I agree that it was harsh, but I was like, yes, feel your feelings, girlfriend.
There's also actually, and look, I think she was, as you say, she's feeling her feelings. It is confessional, and she's frustrated at the circumstances that have led to her being here. And if you actually go back, there's nothing she really could have done about it. Like,
maybe a bit of work on threat management, but even then, I think she kind of needed to do everything she's done to be able to survive the swap. And then when she gets back to merge, she's in that split tribal where they vote out Andy. There's, I agree with you. Wasn't really much else she could do. She was always
because of the split tribals and the way they unfolded and the way Oscar had the sole control of those outcomes, which was, as we discussed at the time, a bit of an overpowered move.
I completely I was ranting that I couldn't be here for that one because I disagreed with you and Annabelle, but never mind.
You don't think it's overpowered?
There was no perfect split for him. He was always going to lose a number.
Yeah, but Andrew wasn't really his number. He didn't know for sure if Andrew was with him.
Andrew was a number for him, absolutely.
Yeah, we know that. We know that, but he didn't actually know that.
Oh, I think he did. Him and Andy had buried the hatchet. They were going to work together.
You can never properly bury the hatchet when you spend 3 episodes.
But my point is, it would have been overpowered if he could easily dictate 2 people going out that he wanted, but there was no way that was going to happen. He couldn't have both sides set up perfectly for him. That
was the only vote that Loz could have tried to take control and save herself. And because that got split in the way it did, she had no chance after that. There's no vote that she could have done differently to save herself. Whereas
I agree with that. I'll agree with that.
That said, had Todd not been immune and gotten taken out by Oscar, that would have weakened her 1 episode earlier, and that would have given her, I think, more time to regroup and more time to form new bonds and perhaps lower her threat level, losing Todd 1 episode earlier. I think
and it would have put the
have
spotlight more on that trio,
on Oscar and his big move. Yeah, because now Oscar's not the goat who's done nothing. He's made the big move. He separated the tribes. He took out Todd. He turned on the yellows. Oscar's suddenly a huge target, and Sab and Pauline, who are with him, are also raised in their elevation. So that, I think, would have actually worked. Probably the only thing that could have gone Loz's way was to lose that ally sooner.
Agreed.
Anyway, that's enough about that. So we go on to Bethany's crying, and she says she doesn't normally cry, and that's where we get the episode title, My Husband Thinks I'm a Sociopath.
I said in my first ever confessional in Melbourne Survivor that my wife, I told my wife that I'm good at lying, and I can, and she thinks I'm a psychopath now. So like, I felt like that was I said psychopath and she's sociopath. But
Some of us are good at lying. Some of us are good. I'm not good at lying to about anything real, but when it comes to Survivor stuff, I'm pretty good at it. I will say, if I do say so myself.
I can lie.
But that's why I get all of the season and 50% of the orgs I've played. But anyway.
My strategy is to lie about everything, and then no one knows what the truth is.
It's
not a good strategy at all.
Bethany doesn't know what to do about Loz and Ed. She kind of wants to go back to them and then flip against that other trio, but she's sort of a bit like, have I burnt my bridges? She mentioned she's been looking for confirmation at Tribal because she'd heard there was a split vote on her. And I think it seemed like she didn't know about the SAB plan until right before Tribal, and that's why I think she was a bit confused and asking for some reassurance.
Yes, she said that. She said she was only given that last minute going into Tribal, so she was so convinced they were splitting on her and Eden because they're the only world players left.
And because of that, she'd already promised Sab that she wasn't going to vote for her there, so I think that kind of tied her hands a little bit. Some people, like to hold those promises. I don't care, but, that's me.
I think that voting for Oscar was fine. That's what she did, right?
No, she voted for... This is after Todd's vote out.
Okay. Who she voted for on that?
Sorry?
Sam. Who she voted for?
She voted for Todd.
Yes.
Because she thought that Todd's plan had been to split on her and Eden, so...
That was Todd's plan.
That was Todd's plan. But then they were voting for Sab in the end, so yeah. But she's talked about how she trauma bonded with Loz and Eden. I like that.
Yeah, I've literally got here one note, trauma bonded.
Yeah.
I was like, I like that.
The thing is, look, Eden and Bethany can't read Loz's mind, but Loz told us that she intended to take the two of them to the end. And honestly, obviously,
Loz could have sat next to anyone and would have won.
Yeah, but obviously they're not going to the end with her. But you take her out at 3 or 4, whatever the final is there. They probably should have stuck with that crew longer. I think
probably could have waited around, and Loz needed to be your first target, not Todd.
I feel like they're Eden and Bethany jumping ahead to the finale predictions or what have you, but they're just too big a threats now. Like, if they were there with Loz here, Loz is the number one target to go at 5, and then it's debatable about who you get.
But the problem is, like I said,
we're getting into conversations that we can have in the next episode because Beth talks about doing this, so let's stick.
Thank you, Dani.
Because we're going to have this conversation for episode 10.
Good idea.
We have this discussion. Bethany has it in her confessional. So let's come back to episode.
The next note that I've gone is Loz saying she can't understand the logic of Ed and Bethany flipping. And my note is really seems pretty obvious.
I actually think it makes a lot of sense for Bethany. I don't think it makes a lot of sense for Ed, personally. I don't think Bethany needs the shield that Eden does.
Well, the perception of Eden is that he's a goat, that he's not going to win. So
nobody's even thinking about Bethany. Nobody's thinking about Beth at all.
His shield gets voted out, and everyone's like changing their opinion on that.
Ed has been blindsided. He's telling everyone it's good. Oh, it was a great move. Well done. Like, good work for you. Good job.
It's a good impression.
I thought it was adorable. But then he's like, shit, me and Loz are next.
That was a good impression. You had the tone right and everything.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a really good impression.
Thank you. And now he's willing to jump ship and vote for Loz next to save himself. I don't think it necessarily did save himself. I think they all saw Loz as the bigger threat. Because I think they all know that if Ed gets to the end, yes, he's a lot more likable, but he doesn't know Survivor. He can't really talk about moves he's made because he doesn't understand them. And so I think a lot of people are thinking, well, if Ed does, they don't want to sit next to Ed at the end, but I think if he ends up there, they're not too concerned about him.
I think they think he's beatable, but they also worry that he could just beat them just because he's So I think they're worried about him, but they're not worried about him more than others. But
they don't want. They're not like, yes, I'm going to sit the end with him. But if he ends up there, it's like, all right. It's
not the worst case in the world, but like it is dangerous. Like there is a chance that a good bunch of them just go, fuck you all, I'm voting for Ed.
And then we got a confessional from Sab. She said, Todd saying he's got an idol made me vote for him even harder. I quite liked that. Because he's there going, I've got an idol and I'm going to play it, which to me is like, oh, okay, I don't have an idol. Cool.
Yeah, the I've got an idol but not showing it is the absolute most. If you're hoping people won't vote for you, then don't do it. It doesn't actually give you.
If you genuinely got one, whip it out.
Yeah.
Then maybe they'll be scared enough to not vote for you, and then you can not play it. But if you don't have one, just.
It doesn't.
But also, now in my head, I'm like, do I make that move and let them all vote for me? And then I'm like, bang! And then I get to choose who goes home, and they've all voted for me.
Yes, if you've got the idol, that's also fine. Whatever way.
I think using it for implicit immunity is better. But anyway, that's
If you have the idol, either option are fine. But if you don't have the idol, shut that up.
If you don't have the idol, leave it alone.
Yeah. So we see a final 3 deal of Eden, Oscar, and Pauline. Because the perception is that Sab is in charge of the other group. And they're saying that Loz and Sab are the 2 best players left. This final 3 deal, if we can sub out Oscar for Ed, then that's really good for my draft team. I need Danny's last 2 picks to go out 4th and 5th. I need the People's Champ to make the final 3. I need Ed to make the final 3. And then I need Pauline to win in a landslide for me to have any hope of surviving.
I'm dead in the water in this draft anyway.
So baby.
I'm still in there. I'm still holding on to hope.
That's because you got the advantage of my nonsense rules.
Yes, I did. But also, Pauline's there. Yeah. Pauline, I think, I'm calling it now. She's going to win this thing.
Well, let's do our predictions when we start doing the next episode.
Then we go into the challenge we've talked about.
Yeah, and then Tribal Council, it's a pretty clear-cut vote out of Loz, I think we've talked about.
Yeah, we got Sab being a bit nervous about some of the touchy subject answers that she got. Eden said he's happy that he got least deserving to win because he thinks people will keep him, but he thinks he can still win. I think he's really underestimating how difficult it can be to change a jury's perception. If they come into Final Tribal with this perception that you are not going to win, you're probably not going to win.
But the same goes for Pauline.
Yeah, I feel like
the same. You're harping on how he's going to win in a landslide. It's the same fucking thing.
No, I said I want to win the landslide for my team.
Made a move. It's the same thing. If they go into this votes alliance, then it's like a fucking open slather.
But they've said he's least deserving, so they don't want him to win. There's a bit of a difference there.
Look, people vote. Number one, half the people giving those answers aren't on the jury. Number two, people are going to. Yes, it's hard to change people's perceptions. I don't disagree with that. But the way you can change people's perceptions is with facts, things that actually happened that everybody knew happened. What doesn't work is I had this plan and I was behind that move and they're like, no, you weren't. But you actually were, but no one believes it because that's not the perception of what happened. I played this advantage. I played this advantage. I did this. Like he's actually done things that people saw him do.
Well, his first advantage was nothing. It didn't do anything.
It's a bit of a fizzle, but still playing that idol on Anthony is not nothing.
I do worry that the perception is that everything he's done is a tribute to Loz, not himself.
This is going to largely depend on what sort of juror Loz is, and Loz is obviously should be
a little bit salty.
She should be taking credit for a lot of that stuff. But if she's upfront with her other jurors, she would acknowledge what Eden did do, what part Eden and Bethany played in the moves they made together. I'm not taking anything away from Loz's role as a dominant position in those moves, but they played a part. We talked about it on this show. If she's willing to talk to the jury about that in the jury villa, that's the sort of thing that Eden can use to easily overcome those perceptions. If Loz was like, fuck you, Eden, then not so much.
From Loz's perspective, the episode, I wasn't here for this one, but when Loz flipped and they voted out John, I attributed that more to Bethany than to Eden. So I think in Loz's mind, Bethany is the one that gets more credit than Eden.
Yes, but it was, as we discussed, it was a 3-way contribution. It was the discussion with Bethany and Loz about men. But
can we just stop? Jules, what did you think of Annabelle's and I recreation of that?
I loved it. I loved it. I was sitting in an airport waiting for my flight, and I'm like, oh my God, they do it. Oh, thank God. It was beautiful.
It was a fantastic.
I loved it.
Also,
there for a second.
100% their idea. I wasn't like, hey girls, can you do this? They were like, let's do this. I'm like, that sounds amazing.
You didn't need to tell me that. I know both of them. I know that.
I'm just telling the audience that. I'm just making sure everyone gets the credit they deserve. The Eden finding the advantage in front of Loz and not being, I'm going to note my way out of here, fuck Bethany, and saying, no, well, I don't want to throw Bethany to the wolves. Maybe there's something here we can do using this or whatever to change the game, was sort of step one in the cascading events that led to that move. So I don't think it's wrong to say Eden had nothing to do with it. Yes, I think if it's Bethany and Eden at the end, Loz is going to be championing Bethany. If Eden can get there with the goat crew that Loz despises, who else is she going to champion?
True. Very true.
What else have I got here? Ed and Loz just know one of them. It's them. Because Ed has said he's willing to vote for Loz, Oscar's concerned that maybe she's got an idol. Oscar's throwing at every single member of the Yellow Tribe thinking they've got the idol. Was that a pre-merge idol, or would it have still been in play post-merge?
It's a pre-merge idol. It doesn't apply. He's completely wrong on this.
And Andrew had it, so...
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know why he thought the pre-merge idol could be played. Maybe he never actually saw. To be honest, he probably never saw.
I don't think he ever saw it.
The instructions and how it worked. But I guess we know that it was coloured and could only be played. Like it could only be played on the particular tribe, and it didn't say it could be played on the merged tribe.
But the only person he hasn't accused of having an idol is Pauline. So, and that's the one that's got a square. And the idol is surely with the termites by now. Yeah, that's...
I would be so sus on Pauline.
In the chat.
Andrew said last week that he dug it up.
He did.
He dug it up. He's got it at home. He showed it to us.
He went and got it.
He took it home. I love it.
I would be so sus on Pauline carrying around those croissants. I've
got it in there. Notes for the next episode. I'm fucking over it.
Yeah,
I would have at some point stolen that croissant and thrown it in the woods.
Well, my next note is Loz is, still a bit salty. She knows that Sab wants to sit next to Pauline because Pauline has done nothing except walk around all day with a stale croissant.
I just feel like
I don't know what she's doing there.
It's a weird thing to be doing. Sorry, Pauline, you're in the chat, but it feels weird. And I would just feel like it's some sort of advantage. Like there's some sort of reason that you're doing this.
Is the clue still in there or something? Like chuck it in your bag, get rid of the croissants.
It's in her score pocket.
Yeah, the score pocket.
I love the score.
Everyone needs to know the score pockets. It's the ultimate.
Excellent choice on the score.
We discussed this last week, yeah.
I know, I don't.
I'm just saying she's drawing attention to herself. Maybe she was trying to get votes on herself at some point so she could play the idol effectively. I don't know. But it's just sus to have to be walking around with your croissants.
Yeah, I'm over it.
I've had enough of it.
There'll be a throwback when she's at the final tribal. There'll be a throwback to the croissants and the idol.
She doesn't need to have the physical props.
It's already coming up at tribal councils. I've had enough.
Yeah.
It's the fucking croissant.
Yeah. But yeah, Bethany. Hang on, Sam. I love the croissant. Yeah. Bethany knows that trio is tight, and she actually doesn't want to vote Loz. She wants to vote for Oscar, but Eden has a bit more trust because he believes that Oscar wants to take Sab out at some point. And I think that is ultimately the reason they go with them. If they saw them as a tight three that's never going to be broken up, there's no way Eden and Bethany are voting with them. But because Oscar's already said, yeah, Sab needs to go at some point, I think that's why Eden is okay with making this move.
It just comes down to, I guess, which of Bethany and Eden think they're the final, the third member of the final actual final trio here.
Well,
Eden's been given a final 3 to Beth. No one's promised a final 3 to Beth. They promised it.
Bethany's got a final 4 deal.
She got final 4, but not 3.
Not a final 3 deal.
So I do, an Oscar, Ed, and Pauline final 3 is not the worst outcome for any of those people.
No, that's a great outcome for the 3 of them.
That's wide open.
Yeah. Pauline, the logic was that if they were looking at the croissant, they wouldn't notice that I'm actually holding my bag very, very closely after the auction.
Yeah, I think that's overthinking.
How did you score it?
Way overthinking, Pauline. I get it. You're paranoid, but way overthinking. Yeah. People aren't that focused on that sort of stuff, I don't think.
Croissant has definitely not been purple. Yeah.
I think we're finished with this episode, right?
No, we're going to talk about how much harder it is to be a woman playing.
Okay, and then tribal, yep. Loz is calling out that people didn't have to start playing until lunchtime today. And then we have a really good conversation initiated by Bethany talking about how much harder it is to be a woman in this game. And to quote Taylor Swift, where a man was strategic, a woman is calculated. And there's a few other, they're talking about if Loz was a man, would she have been called out like this? It's harder to be emotional to be a woman. If a man shows any emotion, it's not a big deal. But if a woman sheds one, watch out for the emotional woman. I think Dani and I in particular know what this is like. I mentioned before that in a lot of orgs I've played, I have received a Villain of the Season award. And I think in a lot of these, if I were a man, I probably wouldn't have. Where a man makes a big move, he's strategic. He's wow, look at him go. And a woman is a cold, hard bitch. So I really liked this conversation and it being called out. Sab added to it as well. It's an extra burden. If you're a leader, then you're a bitch and you're bossy. Men get called strategic and competitive. And then concerned that with a very strong male jury, if a woman goes to the end with a man, the man might get all the credit, which would have been great if they didn't then vote out a woman. But,
This is all, absolutely true. From my perspective, as a man, not actually knowing what it can be like, I feel like everything you're saying is true and it's been shown time and time again in Survivor. But I think, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, and please tell me if you see differently, Loz was not thought about as anything but strategic and a strong player on the season by her fellow players. They saw her as a strategic threat who played such a good game that had to go. I didn't feel like anyone was saying she was a bitch or bossy.
No, they definitely weren't. Yeah. But it's finding it interesting that Todd was seen as a bigger threat than she was.
Well, I think Todd was a bigger threat because he was more subtle. She was big and obvious. She's the big threat. She's the one that's going to win. You can always get rid of that person. Todd's a bit more sneaky. So maybe he floats through. I actually feel Loz was she actually ended up being the character that is usually a man who's a dominant personality, who's running the game, who's making strategic moves, and ultimately just cannot be let to go any further because of how well they've played. That's how I perceived her. Now, I think what you're saying is absolutely right from my perspective, as I say, as a man, and I can't fully understand it, but it happens all the time in Survivor. But I felt in this one, we actually got to see the dominant woman just be a dominant woman and just be a great player.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you there. I don't think at any point, we don't know what was said behind the scenes. We don't know if that stuff was edited out and people said otherwise, and that's why there was conversation being had at Tribal Council. Can't wait to pick Loz's brain about that and how she felt that she was being perceived by others. But no, she was dominant and strategic this whole way through.
But I think when Bethany
would it have been as threatening if she was a man? Would it have been as threatening?
Yeah.
I think
would if she had such a hard time getting her way through, would she have made it through 1 or 2 more votes as a man?
Potentially. But I think also when Bethany first brought it up, she was talking about the touchy subjects answers.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was necessarily specifically talking about Loz as being perceived as the biggest threat. It was some of the answers that were given that, Pauline is the one that's identified as being a goat. That
the 2 women are the bitter jurors.
Yeah.
The jurors, yes, but you guys just said that's what you think they are yourselves. So
I agree with Loz being a bit of juror because of stuff she said in this episode.
But Pauline, though, you said yes, harsh, but wasn't Ed an equal with her on those votes?
The bitter juror?
No, the weaker player or whatever you just said. The goat player.
The GOAT was just Pauline, but Eden got the least deserving to win.
Similar answers.
Similar, yeah.
And Ed got like most annoying. There was I think a reasonably okay gender split on those answers. But I'm not saying anything Bethany's saying is wrong because what she's saying happened all the time. It just doesn't feel like it was happening so much.
No, I completely agree with you. I feel like it's just a very poignant conversation. I don't think it pointed to anything in the game or this cast or the crew. I think just specifically as women who are strong, dominant, bossy women, like that really hit home for us. So like, yes, I don't agree that it was anything necessarily to do with this particular moment. It was just a very poignant,
it's an underlying theme that we see.
Underlying theme that we experience in life, let alone in the game of Survivor.
And Stabs said that here. It didn't happen here, but it's something that you have to think about. And I think the best example of this is Winners at War. We see the first 2 votes are a woman voted out to weaken a man.
Yeah.
If they vote out Natalie Anderson to weaken Jeremy, they vote out Amber to weaken Rob,
Yes, 100%. And, I guess though that, look, whether fair or not, probably, look, actually, I won't say it because Natalie's an incredibly strong physical specimen and would be an incredible contributor to any challenge. But generally when there's tough challenges, people tend to keep the men around over the women. That tends to be the flow there. But Natalie's not a sensible vote in that. But that vote was a bit chaotic, to be honest.
That's ridiculous.
Sophie also came on saying, this may be a very unpopular opinion, but as a woman, I didn't see that or experience it in my season. I don't understand the gender thing because the only time I've seen anything about gender was the girls talking about it rather than having a bearing in the game. Sophie, of course, was also part of a game where women were very strong within it. And obviously Ma was quite strategically dominant the whole game. But equally, I don't think that Nick really deserved 3 votes. Like, I don't think Ma does. I think Ma should have won better than 4-3. I think Nick just sort of got some votes because he won challenges.
I think some people value the challenge wins, and that's potentially why he got some votes.
Well, I don't value challenge wins, and no Survivor fan should be.
But, we don't always see super fans playing LRGs. We see.
I think Ma should have won 5-2, to be honest. Then I think she could have more of a 5-2. So maybe from that perspective. Sophie also deserved a vote somewhere.
I agree.
Speaking
of 5-2, that's where we see Loz voted out. Bethany did vote with her.
Nice.
Yeah, let's bring her in with that segue.
I love it. That's such a
so obviously talking this conversation, it's going to be great to get her perspective on all of this and the feel of it, and how she felt playing the game on everything we've just said. I think she's got to be, in my view, the MVP of the season.
100%.
Just a fantastic strategic player. I think she was able, as I've said, to break these molds a bit and just be a dominant alpha female who ran the game strategically and socially and physically. Like, she was the triple threat, which is why you get voted out. But
Absolutely.
She was so good. We almost didn't have her. She was a late call-up.
I know. Craziness.
So this season was essentially coming all the way, which I'm very interested to find out, from Papua New Guinea, is Loz. Welcome, Loz.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, this is exciting.
Welcome.
We've given you enough praise on this show.
Sorry?
Yeah. Have we given you enough praise on this show?
Look, I split conversations. Someone will say something really nice about me and then say something really not nice about me in like the next breath. So I'm quite used to the balance of it where, if somebody says something really horrible, I feel like there'll be something a little bit nicer coming up. So,
Quinn says your hair looks fabulous.
It does look fabulous.
Oh,
your hair does look great.
Oh, God, it doesn't. It's terrible. But you don't really do hairdressers here in Port Moresby. It's not really a thing. So.
Do you have the yellow tribe flag behind you?
I do.
Were you given this or did you swap it?
No. I bought it. So I don't know how other LRGs work, but we auction off props and items at the end of season, which is great because now that I'm making props, it means we make a little bit of money back from what I spend on it. But in this case, I actually desperately wanted the Merge Tribe flag because I had done the lettering on it, and Pauline was absolutely not going to let that happen. So I gave up and bought the Ginendera one and couldn't come to PNG without bringing it with me. So
I love it. Awesome.
Well, you mentioned PNG. Are you a police officer in PNG? Have you ceased being a police officer? What's this situation?
No, so I'm still a police officer. So AFP over here work in a partnership advisory sort of capacity. So I'm over here as a police advisor to the RPNGC, which is the Royal Papua New Guinean Constabulary. And I am currently working with the family sexual violence units and the sexual offences squads over here.
You and I need to have
I'm just like,
Jules.
You know that when Jules was a cop, she also worked in that area.
Yeah, so it's a lot. Not in all the ways you would think, but it's like kind of like another planet over here. So Survivor has been this weird connection with real life and home, and every Friday it kind of brings me back to that life that I had before I came over here. So
that makes sense. Now, I didn't think about you being a federal police officer. I sort of had in my head that you were I don't even know if the territory has a state police, but now it makes sense that you were in the AFP. That makes a lot of sense.
No, you're right. Oh. I was Queensland Police originally, and then I was Canberra Police, which is ACT policing.
Yeah.
And then I taught recruits at the college for quite a few years, and then I moved into our national side, and then I came over here. So you weren't wrong at all.
You cleared up. Thank you. That's lovely. Why don't you tell us about how you feel about what we were talking about in what Bethany was talking about, and your experience as a Survivor super fan, of course, probably experiencing as a viewer, and how you felt you went on the game, perhaps playing that role, and how you were perceived.
Yeah, look, the female, empowerment, the challenge for women thing, it was an interesting conversation because Beth and I had obviously had that conversation, and Dani and Annabelle replayed it. It was literally a highlight, oh my God, of my entire experience. I've never had somebody actually quote my words back to me. So I'll live out that moment forever. But that was a different, that conversation happened really organically in a situation where, straight away, John and Todd and Ed gravitated towards each other in this masculine, testosterone driven, oh my God, here are my other, sausage bros. And it was the fact that all of a sudden it didn't matter what Todd and Ed and I had built at that point in time. It didn't matter what discussions we'd had. They were so drawn to each other that I knew if I allowed John to stay in the game, I was dead. It just, and it had nothing to do with me and my game. It had to do with the fact that I just wasn't a dude. And so that conversation to me was very separate to the conversation that Bethany then sort of that what was raised at Tribal Council, which I actually really didn't agree with, because the people who were targeting me in the biggest way in the game at that point in time were Pauline and Sab, two women. And it was other women being threatened by me being a strong woman who wanted to get me out of the game. So I don't think it had, I don't think that was a vein that really ran through our game, other than in maybe a few unique circumstances. And I mean, we've heard from Todd that if we'd kept John in the game, Todd absolutely wanted to work with John. He and John and Ed felt like that they were going to go far. So I completely stand by that. So I think Bethany felt like she needed to make that point because of how she was feeling, and she was feeling emotional and she was feeling conflicted, and maybe she wasn't seeing that reflected in the other players at the time, and she didn't want it to be perhaps misjudged as to why she was reacting that way. But for me, I don't think it was a guy-girl thing, and I don't think there was any anyone actively working against me simply because I was female. I think it shocked people that I was so strong as a female, but I don't think that led to my demise. I think my decisions led to my demise.
I think also being a cop, you probably know how to handle a boys' club.
Yeah.
Though you did vent your frustrations about it to Bethany.
Yeah.
You're tired of men telling you how you had to wear your hair? Was that
it had been a complicated couple of years leading up to it. So those were very relevant feelings at the time. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I work with men. I'm one of a very few number of women over here, for example. We have no women in leadership over here. So working with men is part and parcel of it. And there is a way to, you adapt as a female if you're going to survive in a work environment or a game environment. And so for me, I made decisions like pulling in Bethany and Eden so that we could get rid of John, which just made life a little bit easier as the game kind of played out. In the end, though, there was no, I knew for a fact that Sav and Pauline were never, ever, ever going to work with me because I was too strong. They kept Ed, for example.
Yeah.
And supposedly Ed was a strong player, but they felt like they could beat Ed. And, in that case, it was two women who did target me, I think, because I was a strong female. I don't think the boys were seeing it as a strong female. They saw a strong player.
Sophie wants to know, working with men, do you think that's why you gravitated towards Ed and Todd in the initial phases of the game? Or was that more reactionary to you having to find people when Andrew was actively targeting you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a good fit with Todd and Ed as it turned out, but I do think that was just sort of happenstance. I don't think we had one vote, really, and I was the target, and all I was focused on at that first vote was surviving. So when the swap came and you've got Todd and Ed, I mean, who else was I going to work with, really? As it turned out, we had very common goals, and I think Todd mentioned it again, that we never had an alliance, and it was three people working to survive another vote and making decisions. But for me, there was a way that then I was going to work with them to make them propel my game, I suppose. So would it have been different if it had been two maybe not so alpha guys, or a guy and a girl? I don't know. It's hard to say.
You say that they're alpha guys. Obviously, Ed gives that sort of strong alpha energy in certain ways, and Todd perhaps in maybe strategic ways. But they both seem just like incredibly nice people, but with also, as you say, the alpha energy. And given you give off such strong alpha energy, did you identify them then as potential shields? You rose above them in the end as the biggest target, but the three of you could be together in that sort of and with that same energy.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I said that in a confessional at certain points, that I absolutely saw that as my only means of survival was to have shields. And it wasn't that I thought people wouldn't perceive me as being a threat, but that they would like me more maybe, and therefore I could, if I needed to, toss the other two out earlier to go, well, look, okay, yeah, all right, we're really dangerous, but Todd's actually not that nice, and you haven't really spoken to him, and he's kind of shady. Could we get rid of him first? And I was hoping that the relationships I was building might have been stronger than what the boys were building, and that I could use them as those shields. No, I don't know that shield's the right word for it. It's sort of a cross between a shield and a sacrificial lamb almost. Yeah. And it kind of worked. Well, I mean, it did work with Todd in that Oscar was so adamant that Todd had to go. And I think it's because I had a better relationship with Oscar and had built that right at the very, very beginning where Todd hadn't. And if Ed hadn't won, you know, the immunity, then maybe, you know, I think there was still the possibility that I could have hung him out to dry as well. But we'll
I think
know.
that'd be a tough sell, but I think if anyone could flip that around, I think you could do it. I think that you could have convinced the girls maybe to come together and go, let's just get rid of Ed. He's too likable. Come on, what are you doing? You want him to win the season? Like, you know, that sort of conversation.
Yeah, he's going to clean you all up. Like, come on, what are you doing? Make a move now. This is your time. You know, I've got your back. You can vote me out.
John doesn't give a shit about strategy. He's going to vote for Ed. Todd's going to vote for Ed, et cetera, you know. Going back, there's two votes I want to talk about specifically. I keep saying that Eden finding that advantage in front of you and then immediately thinking about how he can protect Bethany with it was a factor of you wanting to then make that move as well. Is that me just reading into it, or was that a factor?
No, look, I actually wasn't super concerned about the advantage because at that point in time, with the merge and the numbers, they were such a target that I didn't think it was going to matter. I felt like Eden could have played it and we still could have had the numbers and flipped it. And if I'd wanted him to go, I think we could have made that happen even with the advantage. It's an interesting one because, you know, he found two advantages, but I don't know that they really, like that vote that he played, that second advantage, it made no difference. He was never the target.
Yeah, I know that one, it made no difference. It was more about when he found it and was like,
I think in his mind, I think in his mind he thought it was going to be a little bit of sort of collateral for him that he could go, all right, now I can protect, now I can make this move. But I already had his and Bethany's backs anyway. And if he wasn't going to protect Bethany, I would have done what I could to protect Bethany because it was in my interest to do that. So I guess it's hard to I think the dynamics at the time, just the real value of that advantage and what it could have meant were lost given who got it at the point in the game that he got it.
And the other one
I think if somebody else had found.
How angry were you when someone you tried to build a relationship with, in Andrew, just completely tries to turn the vote on you when you wanted to work with him, and then to find out it's because you're wearing an Old School Survivor t-shirt, and he's assumed because you watched Old School Survivor that you watched Backyard Survivor, and therefore you got to go. Like, were you like, what the hell, Andrew? We could have been together.
Oh, my God. And it's only now knowing Andrew to fully understand how his brain makes that leap. And I mean, that's a fucking massive leap, you know? And I mean, the simple thing he could have just said to me and asked, I mean, I was pretty like, what would make him think that I would lie to him? I don't know. You could have just asked.
Yeah. And you don't have to say, like, have you seen me play in Backyard Survivor? You'd be like, have you watched other LRGs? Like, how did you get into this? Like, in this many seasons, what have you seen?
How did you
there's ways around asking that question. Yeah.
Even to start with, have you watched the other seasons of Canberra?
Yeah.
Which I hadn't. I mean, it was so, I think the hardest part of that was that it's not like I had any choice. That was what I had turned up to crew in. And it actually takes me back, and this is Old School Survivor, and to one of my actually most hated characters, which was Lil from Pearl Islands, who turned up in her Boy Scout uniform. And she actually says at the end, because they gave her so much heat, and at the final tribal, they're absolutely still laying into her about the fact that she turns up in this Boy Scout uniform, and yet she betrayed and she lied, and she's like, well, what did you want me to do? I didn't know I was playing this, and this is what I had. This is all I had to wear. How did you think I was going to turn it around? Like, I'm never going to convince you otherwise. And that's sort of how it felt, where, okay, I mean, this is what I'm wearing, right? It's a shame because I think Andrew and I had a lot in common as far as how we would really have liked to play the game.
Yeah.
But he was just, until he absolutely had his neck on the line, he was not even going to look in my direction. So that was bad. Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't even feel like I needed to get rid of him in that vote necessarily. But
that was the sensible choice.
It was your only option when you got rid of him.
On that vote,
yeah. Look, we could have, Eden was always on the table, maybe, but at that point in time, it's kind of like, well, Andrew, you probably shouldn't have clicked on me in the first vote.
Eden, in retrospect, might have actually been a better vote for your game there, because ultimately he was looking to flip on you as soon as he could.
So would Andy, though.
I'm like, does she lose Beth here if she flips on Eden? Does she lose that?
Yes, we're there no matter what.
And Andy's not your number.
No, he was never going to be your number.
Can I just say though, you not watched Backyard Survivor, you not for Canberra Survivor before. You showed up to crew. Do you know you're an alternate? Did you know these people? Did you actually just show up to crew like without knowing anyone here? What's the backstory here of you being on Canberra with that information?
Yeah, no, it was literally that. So everyone who knows me knows I love Survivor, and just to clarify, US Survivor.
I said, US Survivor. She's not.
So I initially made this vow that I would never watch Australian Survivor till I got on it.
Yes.
And then they started casting B grade celebrities, and I actually made it really close. I actually made it quite almost to.
I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all.
But then I was like, well, screw you. You didn't pick me, so I'll never watch it, which obviously was my absolute downfall, because if I'd known those answers, who knows? So no, a colleague had just sent me this link, and I didn't know LRGs existed. I didn't even know what it stood for. I didn't know it was a thing. They'd made 2 of them before this in Canberra, and I didn't know about it. I mean, what kind of fan am I? So I applied in terms of, I picked one of my older Australian Survivor applications, tossed that in. They went, it's not really a very personal application. I did my interview and said, hey, I crew backstage on musical theatre. I'd really love to help out and crew if you guys need a hand. And they went, oh, that'd be awesome. So that was the plan, was I was going out there to crew. So I was picking up Aston and had just been through the Macca's drive-through to get a coffee, and Dan rang and went, so this girl who was supposed to play just called in sick, could you play? I said, sure. I mean, okay. And he said, I don't suppose you got anything yellow? I was like, well, no, I don't. I'm not wearing anything yellow, and I'm also half the way out there. And so we just drove out, and I got there, and I'd had no cast instructions because I wasn't cast, and I'd had minimal crew instructions because I was a reserve, but not like, now that I know LRGs, we now have like on-site reserves. So I wasn't one of those. So I got there, and they went, all right, so go sit over there on that bench. And that's where I went and sat for the next hour and a half or 2 hours, just waiting to find out what happens next. And then that was it.
You didn't rate your video, but Soph says it was the single greatest audition video submission she's ever seen in Survivor Canberra casting. So you might not have rated it, but they rated it, apparently. That's an amazing story.
Australian Survivor didn't.
They're lost. Let's all send our love and thanks to the random girl that got sick, because without her, we wouldn't have had this fantastic player on this season who we've all adored watching.
We've all said that you were the absolute MVP of this season.
Thank you.
It was so much fun to watch you play.
It's funny because I remember on the morning, I'd walked over and I'd never met anyone. I had no idea who Dan was. Obviously now Dan is, God. And but at the time I didn't know who he was. Oh, you're Dan. Hi, nice to meet you. He's like, I got my way in the end. I wanted you originally. And, it was kind of that moment where you go, okay, maybe, maybe this could be something.
Who the fuck is overruling Dan in the casting process? I don't buy it. Don't buy it.
Oh, look,
I
don't think I sold myself. I didn't understand what this was.
Yeah.
And so it's hard, I think. In hindsight, I'd probably hate to watch back my interview because I probably just went, oh, that's really cute. You filmed this little thing in the backyard. Yeah. That's great.
Good for you. So well done.
I know. And so I probably deserved not getting picked. So I
get compared to everyone else, and that's the way it would have been like when these shows were originally being cast. But now that so many are made, and there's got hundreds of, or at least dozens of people applying, and you got I really want to be on Canberra Survivor. It's my dream to be on. That's what you're getting people now. The interviews, you're like, yeah, whatever. Still, I get that.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I deserve to be a reserve, and to not even have done a real, to actually have filmed a video was just, yeah. But anyway, look, it all worked out in the end, and everyone got.
Loz, a good video is a good video. I don't think you have to worry about that.
Why don't you ask Dani about her application for Melbourne Survivor?
I did the Melbourne Survivor forecasting with John from Canberra season 2 and Melbourne season 3, which I was on. And Dani just sent her Sydney video to us. And it was such a good video that we didn't care that she said, I want to be on Sydney Survivor in the video. We didn't care.
It's a good video. I'm sending it anyway.
And this other guy.
Look. That third one, the one that I sent through, was a massive production. It was, we'd had a full tribal council in a friend's backyard. I had a jury. We had votes. And I didn't even make it past. That was my third Australian Survivor application. I didn't make it past the video. So I was like, this can get another run. Yeah, it's still got miles in it.
I think for a while they were sort of anti-casting superfans, and now they've come back around on that idea.
Well, they worked out that the best players like George and Kirby and Ferris are actually super fans, and that actually makes a really good show. So they've worked that out now. It's taken them a while, but they've figured it out.
Yeah. Oh, look, don't even get me started on Australian Survivor.
It's actually said that they should have given you a super fan interviewer. Maybe that would have made a difference.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything more for Loz? I appreciate we're an hour 12 into this, and then we're going to do the next episode and let Sab away and do anything more for
Quinn says apply again.
Yes, apply.
Now that they are casting super fans, I would say, have you watched any of it still? Or you still haven't watched it?
I think
the last couple of seasons have been good.
Yeah, I think you'd have a very strong chance of getting on. You've got the super fanness, the game. They'll like your job. They always put cops on there. You're very presentable on camera, if I'm going to say it in a non-creepy way.
You're hot, babe. You're hot. You're trying to say it in a nice, married way.
Canberra Survivor loves looking people on the screen. The challenges are very physical. You'd have that capability. They make sure people can handle the physical challenges. So I think that you'd stand a pretty good chance, to be honest.
Oh, don't tell me that. My poor brother makes my videos, and he's a star, and I just can't do it to him again. The stress for him of having to create my application videos. I'll have to send him this and be like, okay, Paul, we're back on again.
Yeah. Paul, we're back on. Yeah, I'll tell him.
Paul, you need to make a video again, all right?
You need to get better, Paul.
You should schedule a chat. Schedule yourself a private chat with Annabelle and find out what her video was like to get on the trains. Do you know that Annabelle was on the train?
Yeah. I mean, look, my first video, and I know we're running over time, but so my first video, my first application, I made it to the top 400 for Australian Survivor. And they had over 16,000 applicants that year. And it was the champions versus contenders. So I was vying for one of only 10 spots.
Yeah.
And, and I filmed that super hungover on a beach in Borneo. I was so hungover I couldn't take my sunglasses off. So,
what's happened is over the last 3 seasons, a different producer took over the whole show and a different production company who are they themselves Survivor super fans, and it's completely changed the show. So it's a different producer who runs it. He used to work on the show, but now he runs it, and he knows what people want. He knows what the game should be.
There's a lot of super fans on this most recent season in particular.
That's been the big change. It's a completely different producer who took charge of it.
Come on, girl. Think about it.
I can see the cogs turning. She's like, maybe I will. Maybe I
have a lot of free time over here in Port
next year when we see you on there, you can thank us.
Okay. They're going to put together. So it's going to put together a production.
Sophie says they'll do it.
Perfect. A highlight reel.
Anything more from Loz before we let it go?
No, just we love you, and it was so much fun to watch you play.
Yeah, you were so worthy of my first pick for so worthy. I was very, very happy with that choice.
You were my highest choice that I didn't get, if that helps.
Are you coming back to Canberra anytime soon?
Oh, yeah, we got to put on the drinks.
Yeah, look, no, only because, so I left my 2 cats at home in Canberra, and being away from them actually breaks my heart every day. And I can't face the thought of going home to Canberra at the moment and seeing them, and I can't face going home and not seeing them. So I'm just going to wait it out. I'm coming back in April, obviously for season 5, because I've got props to do. So, yeah, unless you're going to come in and shout drinks in April, yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably be February, but we'll see.
I could work with February, maybe.
Well, we'll see when there's a day. Hopefully you can make it. We'd love to meet you in person.
Me too.
Thank you so much. You've been such a pleasure. I've loved watching your game.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. All right, sorry. Bye. Okay.
It's okay. You can say bye now. Okay.
Bye.
Okay. We need to determine an ORCA for that episode.
Loz.
Not ORCA, a Brummy. Loz?
Oh, hang on, the ORCA. Yeah, no, Loz for her rant at the start.
Loz, just for the balls to the wall, fuck everybody else confessional.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, now Sab's waiting behind. She's going to have to wait a while, but she can hear us talk about her episode. We've gone along.
I win a pick.
Yes. On to this next episode. Again, pretty predictable outcome. I somewhat feel like this is why they squeezed it on the Tuesday night. I didn't really understand this scheduling choice. I didn't see the desperation.
We didn't even really get a believable alternate vote. I think the only thing that was maybe there is Pauline going, maybe I should play my idol for Sam. But
I would put money that was production going, hey, Pauline, could you talk about possibly playing your idol?
Absolutely.
Pauline, I'm like, have you thought about playing your idol on Sam? What did you think about playing your idol for somebody?
Yeah. Yeah, there was no part of me that believed for a second that anyone else was going to get. It was going to be nothing other than a 5-1. Yeah. Look, let's power through the episode. We get an opening montage about Ed. It's a few of them joking that maybe he's lying about not knowing anything about it. No, he's being honest.
I love that thought process though, because I reckon it happens.
That's genius if it's true.
No, people getting that sort of ridiculous paranoia about people's potential overplaying happens all the time in orgs, and sometimes happens in LRGs, where you think maybe this person's just a mastermind and he's going to come out.
Yeah, Dani, did you really believe Shane didn't know anything about Survivor?
No, he was a super fan and he knew fucking everything, and he had everything under his sleeve.
People love getting into this paranoia.
Yeah. Yeah, Bethany saying she couldn't vote for Loz. She did think it was a better move to vote for Oscar and swing back. But yeah, she couldn't bring herself to vote for Loz. She was quite open about the fact that she was the other Oscar vote, which I think was smart because they would have figured it out anyway. We see her talking to Pauline. She wants Sab or Ed next. Pauline's happy with that. She says she loves Sab, but she knows she can't beat her, which is probably fair. And she thinks she can beat Oscar in the end because he's young. So we keep coming back to this young narrative.
I don't get it. I do think Oscar's beatable, but I don't get this. I don't think it's because he's young.
But I think that's why he's dismissed so much.
I think it's because it's so obvious.
Yeah.
But
anyway, Ed thinks he needs to win immunity next, with some little bit of foreshadowing there. Pauline wants Ed, but everyone else wants Sab. And I think that's more because just out of loyalty. You know, she knows that when the time comes for her to vote for Sab, it's going to be hard for her. So
she's saying that, but equally, you're exactly right, because she could have played the idol on her last time to play the idol.
That would not have been a smart play.
Oh no, it just has no value for her. I think Pauline is getting to the end no matter what here. So playing that idol on someone that might be there with you and beat you, like it just has no value. Pauline getting the idol is actually a very boring outcome for us because she's
still got one more round to play it, doesn't she?
No, I'm pretty sure that was it.
I'm certain it was final 5. Someone in the comments, can you fill us in? When was the last time?
I don't think usually you can normally can't. Sometimes you can play an idol at final 5, I suppose, in the final 3. In American Survivor.
We will come back to this. We see more speculation about the yellow idol. Oscar's now saying, she can play it.
Fine. Then the speculation that she might play it on Sab was even more rubbish.
Yep.
Even more. Like, there's no point blowing it up. Like, it was the last time. Okay, you know, maybe you're thinking about it. But, of course, you're saving that for one more vote. But it's going to be one of those plays where she plays it. Like, she shouldn't play it. Like, this is going to be that thing. It's that she shouldn't play the idol. Like, Keegan, and we've seen this before in LRGs, don't play it. Break it out at final tribal that you had it. Because she won't need
I mean, we're getting into the next episode, but if she isn't happy with who they're targeting, maybe she doesn't trust Eden, and they're wanting to save him, so she they're wanting to target Ed. Maybe she goes, no, what? I can beat Ed at the end. I'm going to play this idol. Maybe I'm speculating, but I could see that happening.
I think she needs to idle out someone that's worth idling out. I don't know who's worth idling out.
Maybe Bethany is worth idling out.
Idling out Bethany. That would be a good outcome.
But anyway,
Eden would be okay. Speaking of Eden, Eden's made the final 5.
Yes,
which means the People's Champion.
Drinks are on.
He's in final 5. We're going to Canberra.
I'm coming to Canberra. The 3 of us are in different states. We're all going to get together in Canberra, a state none of us live in.
Coming to Canberra. It will be in February or March. I will have to do a work trip to Sydney at some point around then. So I will tee it up with that. We will be doing it.
I'll make it work too.
I'll get in touch with Dan about a good place for drinks. And we'll see if we can put on a bit of a show. I very much want to do it at a time that Eden can come. That's a bit of a must for me. I think the People's Champion, needs to travel down from Sydney, needs to be in attendance. So we'll tic-tac and make sure this happens. But when I spun the wheel and Eden came up, I was certain that was not a great spin. But I offered this money and these drinks for something fun to do, and I may have faux complained about it not happening, but obviously I wanted him to get there, because if we can all get together for these drinks on my dime, that will still be a fun, great night for us all. So I'm very pleased Eden has been able to pull out.
Of the Canberra cast and crew there as well.
Of any of the Canberras, if you've crewed or if you have crewed or been a cast member of any season of Canberra, you're welcome to come drink on my dime.
He means it. He's very generous man.
Legit. But anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah, there's more speculation about the yellow idol. Now I'm thinking Sab must have it. I think Oscar's mind, whoever he's targeting next, that must be the person that's got the idol.
We don't even know if this idol can be played. We're assuming it can't based on the information. So I've said, when you changed it from F3 to F5 to F3, it was one of the best things ever.
Is that a spoiler?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, moving on.
Regardless, I just wanted to make it more palatable. We'll do this again. Backyard starting soon, and I'll be doing another spin the wheel, have another People's Champion.
Look, I can't afford to fly to Perth. I'm sorry. You might be able to. I can't do it.
I'll come to Perth.
I can drive to Canberra. I can't fly to Perth.
Look, I've never been to Perth, but I heard it's got personality.
Yeah. Oh, that was bad.
You're an idiot.
I love a dad joke. Anyway, Sab wants a final 3 with all women. I don't know if that's a smart play for her. I think Bethany would give her a run for her money. I think Bethany is probably the front runner at this point if she's at the end.
I think Sab's under-edited, and I think she could beat Bethany. I think we haven't seen about as much of Sab as she might have been doing to have the have the
I don't know what you're talking about. I saw her in the introduction video. That was enough for me to go, yep.
You're just saying you picked her on the way she looked?
No, her intro video, everything she was saying, I loved it. I believe my note said winner energy.
Do you remember when she couldn't get that? Do you remember when she couldn't get the advantage? That was a long time.
Yeah,
ago.
that was.
What in the world?
What in the world? Seems like so long ago now.
It does seem like a long time ago. I forgot that was her like until recently.
So we've got the challenge. It's the one where you step onto the tile and then you flip it over and then you can't go that. I will say I don't love this as a challenge because it does give people on the top an opportunity to gang up on someone on the bottom.
It's exactly what they did. Eden has a confessional that says that.
Eden helped Ed win, yes.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
But the others didn't. The others, like Eden helped, but the others
they all wanted to win themselves. They weren't trying to help other people.
Strategically at all.
Eden's the only person.
Like we said, this isn't a cast of villains. They don't have it in them to work against each other.
Eden's the only person who, and it's a very admirable trait, and he's done it a lot in this game, who is prepared to be at risk himself at a tribal council to get the outcomes that he wants. He's not like, I'll get immune first, and then if I'm not, we'll work it out. He regularly is prepared to be vulnerable if that gets the outcome he's desired. And most people don't play with that level of courage, and it's very, very impressive. And this was just another scenario, because he could be a target, but he's like, no, Ed's going to be the target otherwise, and I want Sab gone. So Ed needs to win immunity, and then he could be the next person up. It's possible, but he's not worried.
I think he did it subtly. If people had clocked him helping Ed, that might have put a target on him, but I think he did it subtly.
But not just so much that. Like, it's possible if everyone's thinking about Ed and now Ed is immune and now we have to come up with a new target. Yes, Sab's name is out there, but it's possible it's him. Like, he is putting himself at threat. Whereas if he just lets Ed lose, everyone votes Ed and he's safe. But that's not the play he wants. So he's prepared to take a risk for the outcome he desires. And most people don't play with that level of bravery. And I really respect it.
It's a risky player for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, big risk, but big reward. We get a confessional of Sab. She wants to vote for either Eden or Pauline's croissant because she's sick of looking at it. I think Dani agrees with you there.
We thought the croissant was going to be this great move at like the final tribal council where like she can talk about the croissant, but if people are annoyed about the croissant, it's going to backfire.
Yeah. Sab has a conversation with Pauline where she floats voting Oscar. I think she's just testing the waters there. She says they've played similar games, which is true. They have voted the same way. They played a similar way, but I think of that little trio, Sab's getting all the credit. So, but anyway, the writing's already on the wall for Sab at this point.
Can we talk about this? Why is Sab getting all the credit? This is what I don't understand. I'm not knocking Sab at all, but what has Sab done?
It always happens when you've got people doing the same thing together. Someone gets more credit than other people, and it's hard to know why that happens.
I think Oscar's, as I've said a few times, is a bit obvious, and I think therefore people are seeing him as a bit not super strategic, or he's not very subtle about it.
And I think maybe Pauline's quirkiness and like is enough for people to maybe just value Sab a little bit more.
Yes, that's kind of a bit stronger, centered, logical,
much better speaker.
They would say obviously she's going to be the core of that three, keeping them on kilter, keeping them in line. They're a little bit younger too. She has that stronger, calmer energy of the three of them. So if I was looking at the three of them from the outside, I'm like, well, she's the one thinking about things because one just wants to like make moves and the other just like seems quite happy to be here. So from the outside looking in.
I think it's also a factor of us having watched too many cartoons in our life. And we've got a trio of three, two of which have matching hats, which automatically makes them the henchmen.
Yes,
the henchmen have the matching hats, right?
The gender reveal hat.
Yes.
That's how you perceive it, right? The matching hats are the henchmen to the main leader.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like that. That was well done.
I just came up with it on the spot. I thought that's a good bit.
Yeah,
let's roll it out.
That's good. No, the hats. Yeah, definitely. We get a confession from Pauline. She didn't think it would be this hard to vote people out. Well, I started floating Sab's name to try to deflect from Todd and I. Then when I saw a bit of leverage, I really pushed the narrative. Okay, yeah, sometimes it's other people talking that makes it happen.
Well, but we saw this as the game
We're going to see guys shouting drinks soon.
We saw this with what Lauren says goes throughout the game. We were talking about this earlier when she kept saying Eden's not a threat, and then suddenly people took Eden off as a threat person. Mm-hmm. She started pushing Sab as a threat. People were like, oh, actually, maybe Sab is a bit of a threat because she was a dominant, strongly opinionated woman. People were like, oh, let me think about that in my head for a second, and then I'm going to go down that path. Like, kudos to Lauren for like knowing that like her voice is being listened to at that moment.
Spot on.
Yeah. But yes, we're having a Pauline confessional. She says she didn't think it would be this hard to vote people out. When she's playing Catan and other board games, she makes cutthroat moves and it's easy. It's a little bit different though when you're playing with real people. And then she has the famous Kelly Wigglesworth line of "I didn't come here to make friends," but I'm sure she still did.
No one comes to these LRGs to make friends,
and yet we do.
All you do is make friends. How lovely. It's a lovely community. When one person wins, everyone else makes friends. But no one comes to make friends. I can tell you that. I don't think anyone comes to make friends. That's always the unintended outcome.
And it just made me think of that Island of the Idols, where there's that
where no one's allowed. That's not to be spoken about. That season is non-canon.
Well, the conversation between Rob and Sandra, where they're at trial council, someone goes, "It's so hard to vote people out," and look at each other and we're like, "It's kind of hard to vote people out." They're like, "No," and I fucking love that because I can compartmentalize quite well. So like I'm like, yeah, I can understand the difficulty, but I'm like, I'm here for a game. This is not the outside.
I mean, I literally voted my girlfriend out of an org. Like it was not hard.
I have no issue about it. Let's just fucking
orgs
do it.
And LRG, orgs are different. It's impersonal a bit.
I would vote her out of an LRG too.
I never got to vote anyone out of an LRG, so I don't even know. I never even got to vote someone out of an LRG, so I never know what it's like to.
I voted you out of Drunk Fire, and it was no issue at all.
Yes, because you were threatened by my relationship with Max.
Exactly. And everybody should be threatened by your relationship with Max. That's everybody should be threatened by that.
I really don't have much more notes on this episode. I've literally written the scramble is kind of boring. It's fairly obvious Sab is going. You know, like we talked about, Pauline is talking about maybe playing her idol on Sab, but we're all very aware that that's production being like, so is there another thing that might happen here?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is Eden more of a threat than Oscar? I just wrote that down. So we're talking about the Eden and Oscar of it all. Is Eden more of a threat than Oscar?
I would vote for Eden before I'd vote for Oscar.
Who do we think has? Okay, we'll do this now quickly. Going to the finale. Who do we think has the best chance of being in the final three? I think Oscar, Pauline.
I think that final three that they made of Eden, Oscar, Pauline probably is the final three unless an immunity screws it up. I think Bethany is out of the final five. Bethany is the biggest threat. And I do think that she will probably go fourth or fifth.
Yeah.
And then I think Ed, I reckon she's probably fifth. And then Ed is fourth. Unless Ed wins.
Unless Ed wins immunity and then it goes the other way.
Yeah.
If Ed wins, and if Ed wins both immunities, then Ed goes out.
Yes. Because Oscar and Pauline are going together. I
would lock Oscar and Pauline to the final.
Yeah.
I can't see with those five it being a sensible move to take either of them out.
Imagine if Ed's there and then we all have one person at a final trouble.
So
that'd be cool.
You'd love that because then you win because you get more points, even if you get third place. Are we getting an extra point for every jury vote?
Yes.
Yeah. Come on, Pauline, bring out of his vote.
I would also like
Pauline to final trouble, I think.
If they are the final three, can we please have, I know it's the past and nothing can change, but can we please have Pauline on one side and Oscar on the other with someone in the middle, whoever that is, and for them to be wearing their hats, please?
Yes. That would be very ideal.
I love it. But yeah, we get a 5-1 vote. It's pretty obvious. But in a final way, she talked about we weren't coasting, we were playing the cards we were dealt, which I love that sentiment because, as I was saying before, yes, Lauren had to play harder in the pre-merge, but luck is a factor in Survivor, like it or not.
Oh, look, that was just, I know she said in the confessional because she was angry, and she said it to people because it was strategic. I know we had her before, we could ask her, but I don't think Loz views the game. Loz knows the game. They played the circumstances they were given. What else were they supposed to fucking do?
To her credit, she got in Pauline's head in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because like all the stuff she was like, I'm just really worried now about the jury perspective. It's the first time we've heard Pauline really talk about the jury based off Lauren being like, they won't respect this, la la la.
Well,
like,
I mean, she's already called herself a bit of a goat. We saw
I
that.
know, but like, it's like the first time we see her like go, oh, actually, maybe the jury, because on the back of the blurting at Tribal Council.
Before we bring in Sad, we've got to just do our admin on this score tally we keep talking about. I'll just bring it up. I'll do the numbers.
I think we did call when you first did the draft when I wasn't here. You did say my team was very much top heavy, and that has proved accurate.
Okay, so first we have Lauren going, and she's worth 11 because she was 9th, and there were 2 votes that weren't for her. 11. That's supposed to be red. Damn it. 11. So that gives Dani, is that 16?
So she's at 27.
She's at 27. And then we also have going out Sad, who also is worth 11.
Yeah. She only had 1 vote not for her.
Yeah,
so there you go. I'm winning.
I'm still on 30.
I'm at 35. I can barely read what you've written, but I'm at 35. I'm winning. The fact that Dani has 2 people left is irrelevant.
Hang on. For the people at home, we're going to make this bigger. 35. This is high-tech shit I'm using here.